When a man faces fear, his soul is tested. What he was born to seek, what he was born to achieve, his true nature will become clear. I want to see the splendor of people's souls.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to another episode of the Men of Zen. I am Brent.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Aiden.
Today we are talking about a wonderful little frolic through the flowers series known as Psychopaths, a cyberpunk psychological thriller that takes place in a fictional future. But first, Aiden, I think you had something for us to quiz us on or something, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Another surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's all about them surprises. I'm curious.
Yeah. So I gave you guys muffins earlier, right?
Oh God, I knew it.
So
what did you put in the muffin?
There's a neurotoxin in the muffins. I do have the antitoxin in my backpack to give you guys if you pass this quiz.
Oh man.
So
what is it? Depending on what it is, I might just say, no.
I feel like you should be fine because you're a pretty good Pokemon expert, right? I would say.
I do have it tattooed on my arm, so.
Yeah. All right, and I'm pretty sure Brent is too.
I mean, I know I love Pokemon, but I don't know if I'm quite ready for what you're about to throw my way.
Right. Well, we're gonna do a quick little quiz. We'll do Phil first, so it might be easier for you and Brent.
Oh, I don't know.
So there's 10 questions. I'm gonna play a sound clip for each question, okay? And I'll give you what it is. So it's gonna be the Pokemon cries of the first generation of the video game, right?
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and play the cry. If you want me to replay the cry, just let me know, and after we do that, I'll read the. Actually, I'll tell you the Pokemon first that are in it, then I'll play the cry. Okay.
Okay.
So the Pokemon are Vileplume, Voltorb, Pidgeot, or Growlithe. Okay.
Okay. Growlithe.
Growlithe, is that your final answer?
Yep. Final answer.
Okay. All right. The next one's gonna be Eevee, Clefable, Poliwrath, or Rhydon.
Eevee.
Eevee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Final answer, hands down.
All right. The next one's going to be Articuno, Sandshrew, Charmeleon, or Nidoking.
Oh, God. Nidoking.
Nidoking?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. For this one's going to be Psyduck, Spearow, Gengar, or Poliwag.
Okay.
Ooh, I think I know that one.
Ooh.
Let me play it again.
What were the choices again?
Psyduck, Spearow, Gengar, or Poliwag. You want to play the audio?
Spearow.
Okay. Spearow? All right. Mankey, Graveler, Alakazam, or Venonat.
Okay.
I think I know that one too.
Oh, Mankey, hands down.
Mankey?
Yeah.
Okay. Tauros, Ammonite, Vulpix, or Mr. Mime.
Ooh, hold on. What was the choices again?
Tauros, Ammonite, Vulpix, or Mr. Mime.
Okay, do it again. Ammonite.
Ammonite?
Ammonite, final answer.
All right. This one's going to be Seal, Spearow, Dratini, or Nidorino.
Nidorino.
Nidorino, okay.
Pointy boy.
All right. This one's going to be Venomoth, Ivysaur, Victreebel, or Seal.
Do that one more. What were my choices again?
Venomoth, Ivysaur, Victreebel, or Seal.
Ivysaur.
Ivysaur?
Yeah.
All right. This one's going to be Bellsprout, Ammonite, Oddish, or Mew.
Okay. Oh, I know that sound too. What were the choices again?
Bellsprout, Ammonite, Oddish, or Mew.
All right, do the sound again. Oh man, I need to phone a friend. Brent, help.
Oh, I don't know.
That sounds familiar. I know that
They all
sound.
sound so familiar. These are the sounds of my childhood. I need to reach back in time.
All right, what are my choices one more time?
All right. So it's Bellsprout, Ammonite, Oddish, or Mew.
Oh my god. I'm gonna. Doesn't sound like any of them actually. I'm gonna say Ammonite.
Just go with Oddish.
All right, and last one for you, Phil. Voltorb, Krabby, Dragonair, or Nidoking?
Nidoking.
You already said Nidoking earlier,
Yeah,
didn't you?
Nidoking was earlier. Yeah,
What? That sounds like Nidoking again.
Yeah, no, the other one was. It's probably like Dragonair.
Well, shit, I probably messed. Oh, actually. Yeah, Dragonair.
Dragonair?
I'm just gonna take that. I probably got one of them
All
wrong.
right, you got 7 out of 10 correct, Phil.
Hey,
The one you missed was Nidoking. Number 3.
Damn it.
Originally, it was Sandshrew. That was Sandshrew.
I was literally going to be like, it's probably Sandshrew.
The next one you missed was the Tauros one. You hit Ammonite, but it was Tauros. And then the last one was the very last one. It actually was Nidoking for the very last one.
I knew it.
All right, Brent, you're up next.
Ooh, okay. What? So I have choices between generations.
Yeah.
Give me Gen 2.
Do you want to do Gen 2?
Yeah, give me Gen 2 just because I feel like I would fail at fucking Gen 1 anyway.
Okay.
So, I mean, as much as I love Gen 1, I want to try something different. And then do the sound and then list the names.
You want the sound first?
Yeah, give me the
All
sound
right.
first.
All right. All right. The names are I think it's Zatu, Hoot Hoot, Houndoom, and Ladybug.
Hoot Hoot. Sounded like Hoot Hoot.
Hoot Hoot? You want me to play it again real quick?
No,
Okay.
that sounded like Hoot Hoot. That was a bird sound.
Okay.
Either
No,
that-
final answer.
Could have been Zatu, but I feel like Zatu would have been like.
I think you're right on that one.
Here's the second one.
Okay.
So it's going to be Unknown. I think it's Center, the raccoon guy. Slow King or Hop Pit. Hop Pit.
Play it again. I'm gonna go with Hot Pip.
Okay.
Hop Hip Anonymous.
Number 3.
Ooh, okay, that sounds like another bird.
All right, your choices are Cleffa, Noctowl, Piloswine, or Spinnerack.
That sounded like a Noctowl.
Okay. Here's this one.
That sounds like another damn bird.
There's a lot of birds in Johto.
Right. All right, this is going to be a Lantern or a Sneasel, Croconaw, or Chikorita.
Ooh, no birds. Play it again. Chikorita.
All right. Number 5.
That's my girl.
Oh, that's something beefy. Okay.
All right, so your choices are Croconaw again, Piloswine, Chincho, or for alligator.
Ooh, either crocodile or for alligator. It's the same evolution tree. I'm gonna go with for alligator. That's kind of deep.
Okay. All right, this one's gonna be Ferret. I believe it's Falafi, that sheep,
Yeah.
and then Quagsire, and then or Lugia.
What were the options again?
Ferret, that like the ferret Pokemon. There's Falafi, which is like that sheep one. There's Quagsire, which you know that one. It looks like almost. It's like that.
I'm torn.
He's like the
between
blue guy.
Flaffy and Ferret. I'm gonna go with Flaffy because I love that's like every time I played I had to have
Okay.
an Ampharos on my team 100%.
Oh, yeah.
I've actually never played as an Ampharos or a Falafi.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Dude, he
man.
gets a mega form that turns him into a Super Saiyan
Right.
3 later on.
Saw that.
Even just Gen 2, I was like, man, I wanna punch you to death with this lightning kangaroo. It was awesome.
I love how it goes from a sheep to a kangaroo.
All right, here's number 7.
Ooh.
All right, so you get your choices are Chikorita, Hoppip, Dunsparce, or a Sunflower.
Sunflora.
Sunflower. All right, number 8 then.
Ooh.
All right,
Is that
so
an unknown?
maybe. So the choices are Mareep, Giraffrig, Porygon 2, or Blissey.
Oh, Porygon 2.
That just sounded computerized.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
9 out of 10 here. Oops. So it's gonna be Ho-Ho, Ladybug, Quillfish, or Donphan.
I'm gonna go with Ho-Oh.
All right, number 10. So your choices are Wooper, Skarmory, Pupitar, or Sneasel.
I know this one.
Is it? I want to say Pupitar.
Pupitar, okay. 7 out of 10.
Hey, all right, not bad.
Hey, above average.
All right. So the ones you missed when you said Chikorita, it was actually Sneasel.
Oh, okay.
It was actually another one was actually Furret, not Falafel.
See, I knew I was torn between those two, but I was like, I just had to go off Flaffy, off principle.
Yeah. And the last one was Whooper.
I knew it.
Oh, okay. Yep.
I knew that wet boy. That wet noodle.
You guys both passed, so you answered it. I'll give
Yeah,
it to you
that's a passing
after
grade.
the show.
That's like a
That's
C,
like-
C plus.
Yeah, look at that.
I'd pass
Good job,
a Pokemon
boys.
class.
You know, I've been called a 7 out of 10 my whole life, so
Oh my god, how do you think we ended up podcasting?
that's fair. We have voices for radio.
Everybody except for me. That's all right. I'm not too worried about it. If you don't like the way I sound, too bad. Suck it up, nerds.
Speaking of nerds, Psychopaths, guys.
Ooh.
I just right off the bat, I love this anime, and just rewatching it for the show again just reignited that love for it. I'm all about dark crime dramas, and just there's not a whole lot of animes that fit that same itch. And when I do find one, it's usually hit or miss, either really good or really bad. And this one's just
I guess you never miss.
I love honestly, seasons 1 and 2 are fire. Season 3 I really didn't get too into, but the intro songs for both seasons were pretty good.
Yeah, they were actually pretty solid. And I had not seen this before. I remember I tried watching it years and years ago, and to be honest, it was really off-putting because I didn't make it far enough into the anime. Like, the story really doesn't start to pick up for what the clear story is actually happening, not until it's like episode 7 or episode 8 in season 1. It takes quite a while, but once it gets going, it really gets going, and I was like, okay, this is pretty interesting. I really did like the concept that was given about this, governing AI, and it was a pretty good watch. I watched all the way through season 2. I watched the movie. I love the movie. I know I said that in chat a few times. I love that movie. It was so good. Aiden, what did you think?
So it was my first time watching this too. I know, Phil, you love this show, so don't get mad at me for my opinion here. But
Picking up my Dominator, but go on.
I mean, it wasn't a bad show, right? But I expected a lot more from it. I felt like it was just a psychological crime drama that is trying to be like cyberpunkish, but doesn't really,
How is it not cyberpunkish? It literally has cyberpunks in it.
I don't know. I feel like it tries, but it doesn't really fulfill the requirements for me. You can definitely tell it was like influenced from like other cyberpunkish or futuristic, anime. Like,
oh, definitely.
Yeah, like Blade Runner 2 from the story. Like, you see a lot of influences from
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But like, honestly, it was okay. I honestly give it a 6.8 out of 10. It's not quite a 7 out of 10, right? 6.8 is not bad. It's still
Cocking
passing.
this wooden gun right now.
Check his color. What's his hue?
Right.
It's definitely over 400. Lethal Eliminator now.
I do like the themes they explore though. It was really cool, and then like the plot was unique. I like it. It was kind of refreshing compared to other cyberpunk animes because it covers it's the way it went about it.
It's very philosophical.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of like really intellectual conversations and a lot of big names and science books and philosophers and intellectuals in there, and it's pretty interesting. I actually have an overview, kind of give like a basic overview for the series and see if anybody would think this is pretty interesting. The series takes place in a dystopian 22nd century Japan where it is possible to instantaneously measure and quantify a person's propensity towards criminality using a cymatic scanner. The information is recorded and analyzed by the Sybil system, a hive mind that controls law enforcement in Japan. Sybil's ocular judgment determines, via various methods, one's numerical crime coefficient, one's color-coded hue over time, and one's societal profile that results in an indexed psychopaths. This number determines your value in society as well as your right to live in freedom, under observation, or in custody, or not live at all.
Right, and those numbers, it's interesting because at least the gun known as the Dominator is a weapon that is attached to an AI called Sybil, and Sybil and the law enforcement basically act as one, where this entire city, or basically almost all of Japan, is governed by Sybil, and the law enforcement, uses these weapons that is attached to it. And Sybil claims to be an AI that is not biased, and when you point it at somebody, it has the ability to read what's called their crime coefficient, which is basically just a range of numbers. They put a number on you, and this gun can scan you, and it's numbers that go from 0 to basically 300 plus. Anything below 200 is like seen as an acceptable level and doesn't really need enforcement, but they may require some like medical or health treatment.
I actually looked a little into that. It's anything under 120 is considered fine. You are good. You are not going to be judged whatsoever. Anything over 120 will get you you will need therapy, is what they say. Therapy. Anything over 300 plus, that is lethal eliminator range.
So with that, Phil, is it just what kind of stress are they looking for and stuff with that?
I mean, it's just stress about anything. If they're stressed about work, their lives, if they're thinking a lot of bad thoughts, like they're kind of contemplating doing something wrong or something illegal, the system can actually pick up on it and actually single out a person in a huge crowd. They have these cymatic scanners all across the city, and somebody can pick up. They'll actually have in the show, they'll say like, hey, there was a huge spike in the mall area, go check it out, and they'll actually find the guy whose levels are getting close to 120, and they're like, hey, come with us, you need therapy, because you go any higher, apparently there's no way to come back down.
Right, and it's this really interesting domino effect too, where like once one person commits a crime, especially if it's a serious crime, like if you witness somebody being murdered in front of you, they estimate that your possibility of committing future really hazardous crimes spikes also. And at some point, like, they also determine right then and there that, you've seen too much violence, you're going to become violent, and they'll like judge people right then and there on the spot too. And the Dominator, the gun that the law enforcement uses, is a weapon that only works for the person that it's assigned to by like biometric readings. So if it's lost or stolen, nobody else should be able to use it. But when the gun is pointed at somebody that is deemed to have a high enough crime coefficient of 300 plus, the gun will transform into like it's basically, the gun is like a giant magnum. And it doesn't necessarily fire bullets. It will fire it's almost like an invisible ray of energy, and when you are deemed to be eliminated, like authenticated by this gun, when Sybil decides that you can die, it almost like it inflates your body rapidly, and like your entire body begins to just, and you just pop.
Like a water balloon.
Man, it's nuts. It's gory. But then seeing that from the law enforcement, all the like, even if you were just a person that was taken hostage, they're like, you've seen us like murder a bunch of people, and now you have to be murdered because my gun says that you're going to turn to a murderer now. So then they end up like killing a bunch of the hostages too, and
it's not a perfect system, because
but that's just what this like dystopian like system is about. Is that like, what is, how do you judge somebody based on their future, and how do you know for certain that they can't be brought back from the brink of being told that you're going to commit some heinous future crime, and now you have to be judged before that even happens?
This is a type of society that has completely overtaken the entire country of Japan. People can escape it by living out in the country because there's not cymatic scans out there, but if you live in the city, you will be continuously watched everywhere except your own personal apartment. And it's crazy. Like books, music, art, they go into a lot of things about how one of the most famous artists in this in the anime when the Sybil system started, his art was deemed too offensive and it was too thought-provoking that it actually increased crime coefficients and changed the hue of their psychopaths, where he was completely just erased from history. His life's work gone, all because his art triggered emotions.
Yeah. Now the law enforcement that enforces this, the Public Safety Bureau, they're split into multiple divisions, like just Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, etc. These divisions essentially have two primary roles. There is the role of the inspector and then the role of the enforcer. Inspectors are like the lead investigators that whenever some new information or some new alert comes up that like a certain area is receiving high stress levels or they know of a crime going down, investigators are the ones to basically do all of the coordinating and telling all of the enforcers, how to do their work. Now, enforcers, which is really interesting, enforcers are also people that tend to have higher than normal crime coefficients, and they are either enforcers by choice because they would rather be out there potentially killing people or enforcing the law than be sitting in jail or in some cases juvenile hall, depending on how young you were when you entered the system. So the enforcers and the inspectors have a really unique relationship because inspectors have the ability to judge an enforcer while they are also on the job. Like if they see an enforcer going out of line, they will be able to point the Dominator at them and immediately be able to use the Dominator right then and there, just like anyone else would. They would have the same functions. If they wanted to, they could just subdue them with a low level use of the Dominator, or they could, make them pop, explode. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting that they can be judged, the same thing. And the Sybil system, it really almost seems perfect, but there's a bunch of small cracks and loopholes and a lot of questions that start to rise up into the minds of like some of the Public Safety Bureau, and it's really just wild, like some of the questions and information that comes out, especially in season 1, which it's a roller coaster of a ride from like the beginning. Like I said, the first 6 episodes or so, I wasn't really sure where it was going, because once it starts, oh man, it really starts. And the lead protagonist, Akane Tsunemori, is a rookie inspector within Division 1, and her primary enforcer that she interacts with is Shinya Kogami. Shinya is he's a great character. He's one of the rebellious ones that he knows that like he has to do what he has to do because it's right. And whether his crime coefficient goes up because of that, he's like, well, screw it. Who cares? I'm going to do what I need to do because that's the right thing to do.
And that's kind of how he got into that position. He used to be an inspector alongside one of his best friends, Inspector Ginuza, Nobuchika Ginuza. And during a case that he was working on with Ginuza and a couple other inspectors, including one that he became friends with, unfortunately his friend died during the case, and instead of seeking therapy and getting the things he needed to lower his psychopaths, he kept going. He went too far, and his hue got so dark and his crime coefficient went up too high to the point where he unfortunately was demoted to an enforcer and serving under his former best friend. And his best friend, I guess, resented him for it.
Yeah, and that's another really tough scenario with this show, is that the inspectors, they are also supposed to keep a low crime coefficient. And like we said, like all these people, even just like witnessing some of the stuff that they've seen, their crime coefficient goes up too high for judgment. So these inspectors have to be completely unbiased, objective about everything that they do to keep their crime coefficient down, because they run the same risk. They could become an enforcer or be enforced themselves.
That was like one of the themes I thought that was really cool, how like they can judge other people, like whether it's more, a lot of it's like more about what is morally and socially acceptable to charge these individuals with, right? Well, like what crimes, 'cause some of them haven't even, they haven't committed the crime, but the gun is just kind of reads, just like, hey, you should probably kill this person because they have potential to commit a crime in the future.
Oh yeah,
So,
there's a lot of
right.
people that have been in jail almost their entire lives because even though they never committed a crime, because the way their thought process was, it gave them, the Sybil just said you could commit a crime, and so because of your crime coefficient, we're going to put you away. Even people who have never done a bad thing in their life have spent their entire lives in jail,
Right.
and their only option was to become an enforcer or stay there forever.
Now, I have
you know?
a question on that, Phil.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing in the first season, for some people, they get really tested when they're like in the prison, right? For they get the scans done and whatnot. If their levels are back to normal, are they just released back like nothing's happened, or is some
That's essentially what they make it seem like, though it sounds like, after rewatching the series, they make it seem like once your crime coefficient goes over 120, it's very difficult, nigh impossible to get it lower than that. In fact, like, not spoiling anything, there was a character in season 2 who did go from like over a 300 down to like 76, and they couldn't understand how he did it. That's something in season 2 you'll understand, but yeah, typically when you get arrested and you go to these jails, that's it. You have two choices: become an enforcer or stay in jail. And when the whole civil system started out, a lot of cops, older police officers and detectives who were on the force, unfortunately became what they call latent criminals because of the way their mindset was. They had to get into the heads of these criminals and these psychopaths, so they had to start thinking like them. And because of that, according to Sybil, they were deemed latent criminals, and they lost their freedoms and everything, even though they had done right and by the law their whole lives and were peacekeepers. This new system judged them as criminals.
Shusei Kaguri was branded as a latent criminal in his childhood. He's an enforcer now, and he was supposed to be like what, in his early 20s, late teens, like something like that.
I liked him.
Yeah. Oh man, he's great. I love Kaguri's character. He's one of those characters that is, considering how dark this show is in terms of its atmosphere and its total presence. He's kind of the lighthearted one, where
The comic relief.
yes, effectively. But he's again, like, he was branded as a latent criminal in his childhood, and like he never recovered from that. I think it was something to do with like his parents.
Yep.
I don't remember if one of his like parents were killed in an accident or something to that. I don't entirely remember what his story was, but he was a great character.
And then you had like Tomomi Masaoka, kind of the older guy. He used to be a detective in the force
him a lot.
Yeah, he was great. He was always like the wise older like father figure of the team. And yeah, unfortunately he had a cool robot arm too, because he lost it in the field of duty. And just the whole team is just great. Everyone has, these backstories and why they got here, and they're all likable characters.
Yeah, it's a really good mix of people. And then like when you start seeing what the actual story is of like these enforcers interacting with society, some of them like brand new enforcers like Akane Tsunemori.
Well, sorry, not enforcer, inspector.
Or the inspector, Akane Tsunemori. She's essentially a new rookie inspector with Division 1. So she's really new to all of this. And what's interesting is that Sybil doesn't necessarily just govern, at least I think it was Sybil, but it doesn't necessarily just govern the law. It also takes into account, what jobs you might be best suited for. So this entire country is run effectively by an AI. And, a lot of people for a while, see it as a really good thing to keep people in line. But then, like, when you start to see things that, like, you see a crime committed in public, and almost no matter how bad it is, nobody does a thing. You could be in the middle of a sea of people in a busy street, and someone could be murdered in the middle of the street. Nobody would bat an eye.
Right.
They would just keep going because their crime. They know their crime coefficient could go up because of it.
Isn't it because if I remember correctly, people were always keeping the doors unlocked as well in this, because they're so used to people being peaceful, because they assume that everyone in society out there is functioning is a normal, or quote unquote, like good person.
Right. They have nothing to fear because they know if Sybil finds or detects someone who's, you know, thinking about committing a crime, guess what? Like, they'll go get him. And it's such a... There's even an episode where someone is murdered right in front of them, and this whole crowd of people are watching. They're like, what's going on?
Right,
Like,
they've never seen violence or anything.
Yeah, they
right.
didn't even understand it. And like nobody phoned anything in. It just happened, you know, it was an alert that was like the stress level in this area is like going way up. And they're like, oh, we should go check it out. And they get there and they're like, nobody did anything. And they were like, they just didn't want to do anything.
Yeah. Sybil can, like you were saying, Sybil does more than just, you know, govern, you know, the laws. Sybil actually controls what you can do following your high school graduation.
Yep.
Everyone actually has to take a Sybil exam, and that determines your next step and decides everything, whether or not you are required to further your education, for which industry you may be hired for, the job, profession you're best suited for. It essentially picks your life for you based off what it believes it understands of you enough to know this is what you're good at. Kind of like, you know, the joke like in Futurama where like they scan you like, hey, this is the job best suited for you.
Delivery boy.
Yep, pretty much. And it's it's not even a democracy in Japan anymore. Sybil picks out all politicians, heads of companies. Like, you could be right out of high school and be like, hey, guess what? You're suited to be the next CEO of this multi-million-dollar company.
No, it's not necessarily set in stone that Sybil will pick any one specific thing.
Right.
As, in Akane Tsunemori's case, she was so smart at so many different things that she had options, and she wanted to go to somewhere that she felt she could do the most good, be on like the front lines and just do something more exciting than like behind a desk job or a CEO, which I think is great because Akane really develops a whole new perspective on what is happening in the world when she starts to see, like, you know, just how Sybil starts to work and how it judges people and how it doesn't judge some people. Like when a new breed of criminal starts to show up on the scene that no one really expected to happen.
Oh, yeah.
When somebody is immune to the Dominator's judgment, when they are unscannable. What happens when you don't know what a person is thinking? That's what comes up in the case of Shogo Makishima, which is the main villain in season 1. And it's kind of rough to even say he's a villain. Like, he does some really bad stuff, don't get me wrong. But he also does it to prove a point that Sybil really shouldn't be able to decide a person's fate like that. And it's wild. So like what happens with him is when, you know, you see somebody's crime coefficient through their gun, they might be able to scan him and hit, no matter what it is that he's doing, his crime coefficient will almost go lower. He murders somebody right in front of Akane's eyes, and she's unable to do anything about it because he's standing behind the person that he's like going to kill. So she can't shoot at him without affecting her, which that might affect her crime coefficient if she murders somebody. So she's forced to choose between, do I use a regular real gun, but does my crime coefficient go up because of that? And she's like looking right at him through the Dominator as he does this thing and murders this person, and nothing. It absolutely does nothing.
What doesn't she try to scan him though, and it doesn't read him, right? That's why she can't shoot, or is that? It
reads him, but it's super low. It almost gets lower. It was like a 70 something, and then as he's like killing this girl right in front of her, it drops lower.
That is absolutely one of my favorite scenes in the entire anime, where he basically flexes how, you know, hey, if you believe so, you know, much in Sybil and you believe this is fair justice, here, shoot me. He literally like just stands there like, come on, kill me. Oh, because I'm going to kill her. And she points his gun and his crime coefficient's like 50 and then 48, then 26. And he's taunting her the entire time. He's like, hey, you know what? Here, I'll give you this real gun.
Right.
All you have to do is shoot me and it will be all over. And she keeps saying, no, I can't. That's not how it works. And
that's why
because
I
of
hate
that,
her so much.
Yeah, because that's the thing, is like she knows, she believes in this type of justice that Sybil is correct because that's all she knows. But she also knows that if she kills him, her crime coefficient could go up so high that she becomes a latent criminal.
But
And
is she even a good person though at that point? Because she knows it's wrong, but she doesn't do
that's
it.
the thing. He put her in a dilemma. Either kill him, which would end her total career and her life essentially, or put all her faith into the Sybil system and let him kill the girl. And it's such a like fucked up scenario where she does, it's so good.
Now,
Yeah.
question on that though.
Yeah.
So in the very first episode, there was a situation going on with a guy kidnapping a girl.
Yep.
So she intervenes and stops him because the Dominator said gave him the go ahead to kill
The hostage, yeah, because they had killed the guy who was attempting to molest her, and she saw it, which of course fucked her head up, and she was able to talk her down just enough where, well, actually, no, in that scenario, it was going to be non-lethal paralyzer. So it wasn't going to kill her, but it was going to, like, hit her and, like, paralyze her, which then she would be taken to a medical facility and get therapy. It's funny how also Psychopaths just did, universal health care, but, everyone gets therapy. But, yeah, she didn't think it was right to shoot, even, like, if it was going to paralyze the hostage, because it wasn't the hostage's fault,
Wasn't she like reviewed after that or something? Didn't she get in huge trouble? I remember that afterwards.
She got a scolding from the senior inspector because that's not how it works. They're supposed to, paralyze her, and they said, for good reason, like, hey, if we didn't paralyze her, her crime coefficient could have kept going up, and then it would have been it would have been a lethal eliminator mode. So to be honest, that makes sense. It's gonna suck that she's the victim, but they're gonna like knock her out, but they needed to protect her at the same time. So
but it's almost like it's protecting her from themselves.
Right.
At that point, like, she starts to question, what is Sybil? What is Sybil's judgment? How does it know? What is it basing this off of? And she gets so torn over so many different conflicts where she knows it would be right to just be like, this person was clearly the victim here. Why am I judging the victim in this scenario? That does not make any sense. And Akane is one of the first inspectors to really question, just what Sybil is and how Sybil makes its judgment. And no spoilers in terms of that. That question does get answered at the end of season 1. It reveals, how Sybil works and what it is. And it's really interesting. Like, I know we've seen so many shows that have a similar vibe where an AI is controlling something and everyone's like, oh, we have to figure out what the AI is and we have to shut the AI down. There's what was it, iRobot,
Right?
Will Smith. That was super predictable. Anybody that didn't say it's the AI lady the first time they heard the AI lady, you absolutely knew. But yes, Sybil has it almost has its own agenda sometimes, which is weird because it's supposed to be a non-biased AI. So it's really interesting when you find out, what it is and how it works, and the fact that it's kept so secret. It's really awesome. And the chief of the bureau, Joshu, was it Kase?
Yeah.
The chief, she's this elderly woman that, sometimes, like, even right off the bat, she'll give a command that seems way too harsh. And you're like, why would we be doing this right now? That does not make any sense. And she's like all about protecting Sybil. You have to put this first and do what Sybil says. And really, that almost kind of confines people into their own little box of not necessarily not slaves, but, well, I guess you could almost say slaves to the system, where at what point do you become so safe by a system that protects you that you're actually no longer free? You're kept in that box.
That's essentially what Shogo Makishima was essentially trying to say. I actually looked up a lot of quotes by him today before shooting this, and like, he's absolutely one of my favorite villains, I think, in anime.
He's really cool.
I'd say he's really well done antagonist for that.
Right. He's always like in the background pulling the strings behind something, but honestly, he's just trying to see what people are willing to do when they are given the freedom to do what they want. And but unfortunately, he kind of floats more towards like the psychopaths. But I guess that's his thing. He just wants to see, like the quote I said at the beginning of the show, he wants to see the splendor of the human's soul. something along those lines. And he's pretty much the opposite of Shinya Kogami in a lot of ways. And those two absolutely like they're two sides of the same coin almost. They're both highly intellectual, who have these different beliefs in true justice.
Yeah. I found a quote from Naoshi Shiotani, who is the director of this show. Now, what's another interesting thing before I even get into that is that this show was not based off of a manga like you would expect. Other manga came about from this show as like spin-offs or side stories, but this one was actually developed more like a TV series. Like it was supposed to be a crime drama anime, which is great. And the director Naoshi Shiotani had this quote from Otaku News interview back in 2016. He said, "They're not the same person, obviously, but they have the same way of thinking. They've just made different choices, and they represent two different possibilities. I wanted to show that contrast, which is why they're white and black, which is why their names, Makishima is Shogo, which means Makishima Shogo, which means the time between midday and sunset. Kogami means the time between midnight and sunrise." So he literally did that, to contrast those two, on purpose. And it was really interesting that you were able to find that or think of that through, because I really didn't at one point I knew I questioned it, where I was like, okay, they do have kind of a similar idea, but Kogami, is all about doing what's right, and Makishima is more about chaos, what do you do? Go ahead and roll the dice. You're free to make your own decisions. It's such a good contrast between those two characters.
Oh yeah, and one of the side characters, Professor Saiga. Remember, he was essentially Shinya Kogami's professor.
Yeah.
And honestly, one of the coolest characters. He's only in the show in 2 episodes. In season 1, I think he's a bit more in season 2, but he is one of the most intellectual, if not the most intellectual character in the show. He can basically look at someone and determine all these things about them, and 90% of the time, he's correct. He took a couple seconds to look at Akane Tsunemori, and he was like, "You are a grandma's girl. You have great relationship with your parents," and he was entirely right. And one of the things he said, my favorite things he actually said was when he asked Shinya Kogami to describe charisma, and not Shogo, Shinya Kogami, he said, charisma has 3 points: the nature of a hero or prophet, the ability to simply make you feel good when you're around them, and the intelligence to eloquently talk about all sorts of things. And that, honestly, I didn't really understand that. It really didn't hit me when I first watched it. But now being over 30, watching it probably 5-6 years later after the first time, that honestly hit me a lot more. And I can understand it. And this whole show has a lot of these different, a lot of different conversations between characters that really make you think.
Right.
And that's not a whole lot of anime does that for me.
Yeah. And season 2, I'm not going to get a ton into, but the events that happen at the end of season 1 do roll directly into season 2, where it's another similar situation, but it turns more into now technology made by criminals on the down low hits a point where they can avoid scans and stuff just through technology. They have wearable helmets that protect them from being judged by Sybil and scanners and stuff. So if anybody just has access to one of these helmets, they can, just poof, and now they're they can go do whatever they want and not have any repercussion, which is episode 1 of season 2, which is the murder in the street by a man in a helmet, and everyone just stands by and watches and does nothing.
Oh yeah,
it's brutal.
Huh? Was that season 2?
I thought it was still season 1. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
I think the helmets are still in.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, because I've saw that helmet part, and I've only seen season 1. I think it's 22 episodes in season 1.
Oh no, season 2 is not the helmets. The helmets are actually all just encompassed in season 1. Season 2, there's some type of new technology. They don't really go into detail specifically of what it is, but it allows people to somehow control.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Control
Yeah,
their
the helmet is season 1. Yeah, you're right. That is right. Yeah, because it's a name of a pill or a medicine or something that they're talking about. I don't remember what the name of that is. That was it. It still continues that story.
Oh yeah,
and it's really interesting also how, even though this show was created quite a while ago, a lot of things that this show has touched on in the anime is relevant today in terms of the technology and some of the philosophical elements that now we're starting to question about AI and about virtual reality and
there's so much like technology in this. I didn't really catch it the first couple times I watched it. Everything in this world can be a hologram. You know, you can walk into a drab, dark apartment and you have these computer AIs that can redecorate your room, put holograms over all of your furniture. As long as it maps out the room, your couch in the middle of the room, it can turn into whatever type of couch you want it to be. You could be a bedroom in France. It's so neat. And people actually not a lot of people wear clothes, I guess, in this anime. A lot of it's holograms.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Where like Akane will go through her outfits list on her cell phone and then be like, hey, I'm going out to lunch. I'm going to put on my lunch outfit and then select it and boom, just puts it on right away. And then
that would come in handy.
she goes to work, throws on her work attire. But it's really hard to tell which is real clothes and what are hologram clothes.
NFT clothes, baby.
Oh God, no, we're not doing that.
Oh man, super cool. Well, we're not. Let's see, we got a little bit of time here. So I guess before we get too much more into giving out any spoilers about the series, I do want to get into the development of the show.
Ooh, yes, please.
A little bit. Which, starting with at least the development of season 1. Season 1 and season 2 had some different people that worked on it. I primarily went with researching season 1, directed by Naoshi Shiotani, as mentioned earlier, and was written by Gen Urobuchi and features character designs by Reborn manga artist Akira Amano. Psycho Pass originated from Production IG's interest in making a successor to Mamoru Oshii's Ghost in the Shell, which we mentioned earlier, and I haven't heard of this one called Pat Labor. I should absolutely check out what that one is, considering that this was a big, inspiration. They hired Katsuyuki Motohiro, who became the series' chief director, and veteran IG animator Naoshi Shiotani to supervise direction. The series was first announced in late March 2012 by Fuji TV at its Noi Tamina press conference. Character design was done after the creation of the show by manga artist Akira Amano, which was really neat because they had this whole idea and they wanted to get it rolling, so they actually did all of the backgrounds, all of the atmosphere. They knew what it wanted to feel like, but they didn't have the characters down, so they completely left it up to Akira to be like, hey, we need you to make some characters that are believable and relatable that fit this world. Motohiro allowed his team to use really graphic elements, really graphic sometimes. So it is absolutely a show that is not for kids.
Real quick, going off that design. So he actually, when basically he heard comments from Atsuko Ishizuka, he's actually the director of The Pet Girl Sakura So, which is one of my favorite animes of all time.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
He heard comments from it, and he decided to go the opposite direction, which was what you were saying by creating the setting first, then the characters. Well, The Pet Girl did the opposite, the guy who made that. And then,
cool.
Yeah. And then with that, like, this is why I explained earlier why I don't feel like it's a cyberpunky anime feel. Because, like, for this kind of show, they did more kind of dark like, colors. It would not really, cyberpunk to me is like kind of neon bright colors kind of popping out with like all this futuristic stuff. This was more like what Brent was saying, it was kind of a dark, gritty,
blues,
dark colors.
Dark blues.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of the cyberpunk stuff comes from more of these, of like the weapons, they do have that like neon glow to them. But again, this is a dystopian future where not necessarily like Ghost in the Shell, where that's a little a cyberpunk. that's almost more of like an ideal world of what, we would look like if law enforcement was a thing, because they're not governed by this all-knowing AI that can judge your future. Like, this is like the cyberpunk of shit got bad, and it got so bad that they're like, this is the way things are. If you don't like it, too bad.
Oh yeah, like this is we didn't touch on this, but Japan essentially is a completely self-sustained country. They don't do exports. They don't import anything, and they have somehow like locked themselves out from the rest of the world. Like, you cannot go to Japan. They will not let anyone in. They will not let anyone leave either. It's
all of their food, their production, their everything is controlled by AI systems that somehow link to Sybil. Now they did acknowledge, in terms of the like how graphic it was, they knew that it was going to reduce female viewership. Regardless, they allowed it, which is great. He did already acknowledge that the series was going to be too violent for a younger demographic, and said that he would not want his son to watch it because of its psychological brutality.
Season 2 had some of the most grotesque, like visually, like probably intense anime I've ever seen in my whole life.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah. There's
Season 2
like
gets into it.
Oh yeah, like that's even just
do we talk about the video game?
Oh god, the visual novel that I got on the PS Vita.
Not the I'm saying in Season 2, the video game.
Oh god.
Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
So at some point the police force starts to invade a facility that they know is, being that some guy that they are after is locked inside.
Yes, I remember.
And the police bring in a lot of drones, and their drones all have weapons on them. The person that has control of this facility created and released a video game under the guise of a sequel to a really popular video game on everybody's cell phones. The people do not know that the game they're playing is actually, they're controlling the drones, and the people that they are shooting are the law enforcement.
Oh yeah, all the enforcers, they're getting completely obliterated, murdered.
Meanwhile, like little Jimmy over there is like, "Oh, I'm killing all these ducks," and he's like, "It's hilarious."
And it's all like happy, like Flash, games.
Right.
It's they don't know they're murdering people.
Wasn't that,
they have no idea.
That was a movie with Jared Butler, right? His name is Jared Butler.
You're thinking of a
Gamer. I think it was, yeah. Isn't that like the same kind of
concept?
concept?
Yeah, except they in that world know what they're doing. They're just controlling a guy that is condemned for life to go do these things. This is like, they think they're having a fun little game like scoring points, but then when it's revealed that they're straight up murdering people, a new conflict emerges of some people continue to play the game when they know what's actually happening, and some people automatically turn it off, and their like crime coefficient goes way up because of what they've seen and what they've done. It's nuts. So Moto Hero wanted the series to counter concurrent anime trends. Because of that, again, this was a much darker tone anime than what was happening. The use of moe, or slang, was banned at all staff meetings because they appreciated dramas like Mobile Suit Gundam, Patlabor, again, which I need to figure out what that is. That focused on conflicts between male and female, between male characters. The series was considered anti-moe. The team decided to avoid having Tsunemori remove her clothes because they instead wanted to have Kogami do it.
And they said female viewership would dwindle.
Nevertheless, the show attracted a female viewership because the conflict between the male characters appeared to attract the shonen ai genre fans. There you have it. I
can see it.
The series was inspired by several Western films like Blade Runner, Minority Report, Gattaca, Fifth Element, Seven, Brazil, Millennium Trilogy, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. It's nuts. So good. Like, just so many good elements from that. So back before this, released, Psycho-Pass was actually quite a bit different. I have another quote from the same 2016 interview on Otaku News. There was actually another Psycho-Pass before, or another Psycho-Pass planned before the one that actually got made, and that got changed quite a bit. Not a complete 180, but it did get changed quite a bit to become the Psycho-Pass that actually happened. So this one is a Japanese society in 100 years' time. But at the planning stage, it was a post-disaster world trying to rebuild the country. Various things happened and they had to overcome various things. But then the actual Great East Japan earthquake happened as we were working on it, and it seemed to be too real to do that. So they had to change it, which I actually thought that was pretty interesting, because that would be really cool to be like, you know, a rebuilding structure rather than like a forced like confinement. The anime series produced by Production IG was broadcast in Japan on Fuji TV's Noitayama programming block between October 12th, 2012 and March 22nd, 2013. Funimation licensed the series in North America and was one of 3 initial shows aired as a Funimation broadcast dub. On July 6, 2013, Production IG President Mitsuhisa Ishikawa said at Anime Expo that production on a second season had begun. The second season, just titled Psycho-Pass 2, began airing in October 2014. The film, which I love, the film was released in January 2015 before the debut broadcast of the second season, which actually is where it fits in between the two. It was condensed, so the first season actually got condensed into 11 one-hour episodes with some added scenes, and that began airing in July 2014. The 4th episode was canceled due to similarities with the real-life murder of 15-year-old Japanese high school student Iowa Matsuo by a 15-year-old female classmate on July 26th, 2014. The murder took place in the suspect's apartment in Sasebo, Nagasaki Prefecture, where Matsuo was beaten with a metal tool, strangled to death, and then partially dismembered and decapitated. Yikes.
Good lord.
Yeah. Director Naoshi Shiotani apologized for this in his Twitter account because of, the similarities to some of the things that come up. Nevertheless, Funimation streamed the episode. A Blu-ray box set was announced with a scheduled release for October 15th, 2014.
I own it.
Yeah. Contains both the original first season broadcast and the edited 1-hour rerun episodes. The second season aired on Fuji TV's Noitayama programming block between October 10th, 2014 and December 19th, 2014. The series was collected in a total of 5 DVD and Blu-ray volumes between December 17th, 2014 and April 15, 2015. Lots of dates, man, especially because this is a TV show, so it's really interesting just how this is so much different than a show that started as a manga.
Right.
On March 8th, they did start a 3rd season. I did not watch this. It is a little bit harder to find, but it is out there on some less savory websites that may or may not be legitimate to stream on, but you can find them if you're savvy enough. I'm sure you listen to it. You watch anime, you read manga,
Season 3 is a very different... it has a very different vibe in comparison to the first two. Akane Tsunemori is no longer the main protagonist. It is actually a guy by the name of Shindo. He is like Makushima in the first season, a asymptomatic person who he can control his psychopaths. So people they can't really read him.
Yeah.
And he does have a superhuman ability, which I guess he just can know so much about you by touching you or looking at you. It's a very weird, it's a different type of feeling. I got through the first 3 or 4 episodes before I was like, this just doesn't feel quite like the other 2 seasons. So I did give up on it, but I think I definitely need to go back and give it another shot because it came out 5 years later from season 2.
No, it does say here that Amazon streamed the series, so I guess I didn't check that. So maybe I should head home and see if that's on there. I've been too busy watching Rise of the Shield Hero. Sorry.
Maybe the next episode? Find out.
I don't know. I have no idea about that. We'll have to see what the creator has. But man, Rise of the Shield Hero, watch it. It's so good. Oh my god, I'm obsessed with it.
But just watch it after Psycho-Pass.
Yeah. So it says it was on Amazon. I might have to check that out. And Naoshi Shiotani returned as director for this one, Akira Amano as character designer, and Production IG as animation producer. So a lot of consistency. It consists of only 8 episodes, with each episode being 45 minutes long, which is pretty interesting for an anime series, actually. On June 12th, 2015, the Chinese Ministry of Culture announced that they forbade the release of Psycho Pass along with 38 other anime and manga titles that were deemed to include scenes of violence, pornography, terrorism, and crimes against public morality that could be potentially seen to incite minors to commit crimes. So, China got into some weird stuff when they started banning things. Like, they started banning video games and consoles and stuff for a while there. It was really nuts. Before we end this, I do want to get into a little bit also of the backgrounds of some of these guys, mostly just Shiotani and Urobuchi. Naoshi Shiotani, the director, was born on December 27th, 1977. As a child, he was a fan of animation and enjoyed drawing. His favorite works were Studio Ghibli films like Hayao Miyazaki's My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service. I love those. They're so good movies. He was also a fan of Production IG through their franchise Ghost in the Shell and, once again, Patlabor. Upon joining Production IG, Shiotani became interested in combining traditional animation with CGI animation for his works, most notably one called Oblivion Island. Shiotani's first directed work was the film Tokyo Marble Chocolate, which released in 2007, also produced by IG, a lighthearted love story between two young adults over a Christmas vacation together, which is totally different than what we're seeing here.
Very much so.
Yes. Now, Gen Urobuchi, this is where I think it kind of got interesting, where he was born December 20th, 1972. He's a Japanese novelist, a visual novel writer, and an anime screenwriter. He is also known for being the co-creator of the highly acclaimed and commercially successful anime series called Puella Madoka Magica, which earned him the Tokyo Anime Award for Best Scriptwriter as well as writer of the 2003 visual novel Saya no Uta. The 2012 anime Psycho Pass, the light novel, and the anime Fate Zero, and the 2013 to 2014 Tokatsu show Kamen Rider Gaim. He currently works at Nitro Plus and Nitro Plus Chiral. Urobuchi graduated from Waco University. He aspires to become a novelist after seeing Shizuku and Kizuto by... what was it? Shizuku and Kizuato. This is what I wanted to talk to you about earlier. Was made by Leaf, which is a 90s horror visual novel. Now, when I say Shizuku and Kizuato, they're actually two separate visual novel games, kind of like how the Psycho Pass game turned out. But they somehow correlate together. But they're they're like 90s. I mean, imagine super pixelated. At the height of anime 90s madness kind of style art. It's just wild to look at, and it's really archaic now to see, and it really didn't have like a lot of the same choices we had, but there was over, like, I think they said there was like 93 different endings to these games that you could get to. Yeah, it was really cool. He then started working at Nitro Plus and worked on Phantom of Inferno as his debut series. It was super cool. Yeah, I love the fact that it was, because I know you're talking about the Psycho Pass game being a visual novel. I'm like, well, there's a reason for that. The writer made visual novels and loved visual novel games.
Fair, but can you just imagine like the world of Psycho Pass in a game like LA Noire?
Yeah, I could. That'd be pretty rad. I didn't necessarily care for LA Noire. Like, it had, like, the story was great. I hated the fact that you drove a car at all. It seemed so there was nothing to do, nowhere to go.
It's called loading screens.
That was
hidden loading
screens. But it's the biggest, most explorable loading screen I've ever seen. They should have just been like point and click to go to your destination and check out the heinous crime.
Maybe they'll add that in LA Noire too. Oh wait, no, they won't.
no, they won't. Well, what if they just did like another one with different people?
Well, the studio is closed, so.
Well, somebody could revive this series.
Oh, no, Rockstar owns it.
Elon Musk,
Rockstar owns it. They should. Do it.
Now, I have, real quick before we close this up, we have just a tiny bit of time here. I have a little section that I like to call fucked up shit. Oh, man, because, like, some of my favorite points about the show that I wanted to bring up.
Man, I love this part.
Some of my favorite fucked up shit. Episode 6, the artist that is being, like, manipulated or not necessarily controlled or influenced by Makishima.
Oh,
The girl in the high school that the murder that happened in real life.
Yeah.
Yo, that is grotesque. She is this girl who is like a sculptor, painter. She's a young girl in this school, and it's like an all girls school, and she murders other students, but then uses their bodies in pieces of art.
Yes, she uses this chemical that when she essentially puts the human into it, it turns their skin into plastic.
It's resin, but
yes.
the thing is that was really strange is that so when they're like when the law enforcement is investigating these murders, they're like it's a specific special kind of resin that they don't know where it came from,
which was used in a previous murder that actually linked to Shinya Kogami's friend Sasayama. He died in the same way, which triggered his downfall into becoming an enforcer, so it played a big role.
No, I know you were talking about it earlier too with the holograms, that people can make things look like other things, especially if it's something like out in public. Maybe you wouldn't even know. She would hide her work, her quote works of these like horrible like dismembered people posed in really like supposedly philosophical elegant poses
with
like
flowers and
like it was supposed to look like a statue, and most people actually when they discovered what this thing was, they legit thought, they're like, ew, what a creepy statue. They're like, who would make it look like this? But she would like hide it in things in public, like make a hologram of like a fountain in the middle of like a public square.
Yeah.
And they have like maintenance workers that would be like, we need to go check this out. The hologram and the fountain's like flickering on and off and something's going on with it. We need to disable it real quick and see if we can get the hologram back up and running or whatever. And then they turn the hologram off, and underneath the hologram is just real fucked up supposed sculpture of dead girls. And they're like, oh, this is weird. Why would someone do this? And then later find out they're actually like real people. And you're like, oh, that's some hella messed up. That's some fucked up shit.
That's some fucked up shit.
More fucked up shit. Any use of the Dominator.
Oh, God.
Any and every time they use that gun, it gets more and more difficult to watch when, like, you see, like, they get hit by, like, this blue beam of light, and then they might have a second to go, oh, no, before they just, like, wherever they're hit just expands until they just burst like a grape in a microwave. It's ridiculous.
I think I got my moment of, fucked up shit. One of the analyst of Division 1, Shion Karanamori, she's kind of like the femme fatale, seductive type, but